Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and explore one of the absolute most profound mysteries in astrophysics today. And, wildly enough, we're going to look at how it perfectly mirrors a massive, real-time crisis happening right now in the Fortune 500 tech industry. We're talking about the fundamental concept of survival. Whether that's an entire biological species trying to colonize the stars, or a multi-billion-dollar legacy tech giant just trying to survive the artificial intelligence revolution, the rules of the game are surprisingly similar. To understand this, we have to go back to 1950. Picture this. Physicist Enrico Fermi is just walking to lunch with his colleagues, chatting about the sheer vastness of the cosmos when he points out a really stark contradiction. He basically asks, where is everybody? With so many stars and planets out there, why is there just a complete lack of evidence for alien life? And that simple, kind of haunting question birthed what we now call the Fermi Paradox.
To put that vastness into perspective for a second, our universe is 13.8 billion years old. We're talking about hundreds of billions of galaxies, each packed with trillions of stars and even more planets. Yet, despite decades of us actively searching the skies for technosignatures, things like radio bubbles from advanced civilizations, we hear absolute deafening silence. Scientists literally call this the Great Silence.
So to solve this paradox, economist Robin Hanson proposed an idea back in the 1990s known as the Great Filter. It's a fascinating theory. It suggests that any life form has to climb this ladder of developmental phases to eventually become an advanced interstellar civilization. But one step on that ladder is so difficult, so incredibly improbable, that it acts like a filter, wiping out almost everyone who tries to pass it. Which really forces us to ask a terrifying question. Where exactly does humanity stand relative to this impossible hurdle? Think about it. If the filter is behind us, well, it means the emergence of complex life is just exceedingly rare, and we are an incredibly lucky exception that survived. But if the filter is ahead of us, that means civilizations routinely get to our current level of technology, and then something inevitably destroys them before they can colonize the stars. And this right here is exactly why finding alien life would actually be terrible news. Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom hit the nail on the head when he pointed out that finding even simple alien bacteria on Mars, or say, under the ice of Europa, would be a huge blow. Because statistically, it would prove that the emergence of life is actually pretty easy. And if starting life is easy, but the galaxy is still empty, it means the Great Filter hasn't happened yet. It's still waiting for us.
And honestly, we are definitely reaching a stress point as a species. Earth passed a massive milestone in November 2022, hitting 8 billion human inhabitants. Scientists are constantly pointing out that this exponential population growth, paired with our rapidly advancing technology, puts just immense stress on our civilization's survival. The very tools pushing us forward could literally be the ones that trigger our downfall.
So what does this filter actually look like? Well, we're already staring down several potential candidates. Researchers from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory have identified active hazards that are currently testing our resilience. Whether they're human-made, like nuclear war and runaway AI, or natural, like massive meteorite impacts or intense climate change, these are the humanity-ending events that could stop our progress cold. All right, so how do we actually get through this? Let's move on to our next section, Modeling Survival, 10 Civilization Scenarios.
To truly understand how civilizations endure or fail, a recent study led by researcher Celia Blanco simulated the collapse and recovery of societies. They modeled out these 1,000-year windows and found extreme ends to survival. As you can see, a Golden Age society achieves a perfect duty cycle of 1.00, meaning it never collapses, it just enjoys uninterrupted growth. But then you have scenarios like the Sword of Damocles or Big Brother that suffer repeated, severe technological contractions. And that is based entirely on their governance styles and exposure to hazards.
Interestingly enough, the researchers found that these collapses actually leave a fingerprint. A collapsed Sword of Damocles civilization, for instance, would be the only one leaving behind a chemical called carbon tetrafluoride in its atmosphere. Because this stuff can last for thousands of years, it essentially acts as a lingering technosignature. It's almost like a cosmic tombstone, broadcasting to the rest of the universe that a civilization failed to pass its filter.
Ultimately, the simulation objectively proves something really important. Surviving the Great Filter isn't just a matter of getting lucky and dodging a meteor. The defining factor between a species that colonizes the galaxy and one that goes totally extinct is internal design. Specifically, it's about reducing resource consumption and managing how well your society recovers from initial, smaller shocks. That determines who makes it. Okay,
Let's make a pivot here and dive into our next section, the corporate great filter.
Because, believe it or not, this exact same cosmic dynamic of collapse versus survival is playing out right now in the Fortune 500 tech industry. The corporate mood has drastically shifted. That initial generative AI euphoria we saw back in 2023, that has morphed into a very real structural AI anxiety. A 2026 Mercer report showed that 63% of tech workers are expressing FOBO, the fear of becoming obsolete. This internal pressure is forcing legacy companies into a high-stakes filter of their own, brutally weeding out whoever can adapt.
And the hurdle here is the nature of the technology itself. The market is absolutely no longer tolerating mere experimentation or basic generative AI chatbot pilots. To survive, companies have to rapidly transition to outcome-based, autonomous agentic AI. If a legacy firm can't shift from just having an AI generate text to having it actually execute complex, autonomous, enterprise workflows, they are facing existential collapse.
We are already seeing this filter ruthlessly divide the market. Look at IBM. They're thriving as a legacy winner by pivoting to high-margin agentic consulting, essentially helping other companies manage their own AI anxiety. Cisco is winning by providing the essential network plumbing. But then look at Intel, completely suffocating under legacy debt and failing to pivot. Or Oracle, caught in this massive capital expenditure trap with negative cash flow while trying to build out data centers.
To put real, tangible stakes on this failure to adapt, we just have to look closer at Intel. Their stock plunged an astonishing 17% in a single day following disastrous early 2026 earnings. They completely failed to catch up to AI-centric leaders like NVIDIA, and it forced a desperate 20% global headcount reduction just to keep the lights on. Guys, that is exactly what a civilizational collapse looks like on Wall Street.
And the symptoms of a failing corporate civilization are remarkably clear once you know what to look for. Just like biological species that deplete their planetary resources, tech firms burdened by immense legacy maintenance debt, massive capex traps, or an out-of-control 78% rise in unregulated shadow AI usage, they're fundamentally unable to move capital and talent fast enough. They just can't pass the digital great filter.
And on top of all that, regulatory gravity is making this filter even tighter. With the EU AI Act enforcing strict rules globally and U.S. state mandates like California's SB 951 requiring 90-day advance notice for AI-driven layoffs, the environment is just becoming completely hostile to slow-moving giants. Add in the rise of sovereign AI, where countries are building their own localized national models, and those old standardized public cloud approaches simply stop guaranteeing survival.
So cosmic filter versus corporate filter, the parallels are absolutely undeniable. Whether we're examining an advanced alien race exhausting its home planet's resources, or a multi-billion-dollar legacy tech firm clinging to old software models and depleting its talent pool, the fundamental rule of the universe applies. The inability to adapt to a rapidly changing environment guarantees collapse.
Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. As the cosmic simulations and the stock market both show us, survival is rarely just a matter of luck, it's a matter of design. So, will our civilization and the massive corporate engines shaping its technological future learn to manage their resources and evolve? Or are we all destined to be just another silent footprint in a very empty universe? Thank you so much for exploring this with us.